Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special episode. You seen Marcus and I about 6 weeks ago, on a show here where we did the Eagles Cowboys round one. Well, we already know Christmas is upon us. Christmas Eve is tomorrow, and the NFL has blessed us with another great game. Christmas Eve, Cowboys Eagles. Here we are, round two. Marcus, how you feeling tonight, brother?
I'm good, Paul. Man, I had a little scare with all this crazy weather, man. My power went out for about an hour and a half. It was crazy, man. But
Yeah, hopefully we get that power outage for the Eagles, tomorrow night. But I definitely don't think that's going to happen. But listen, I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm so glad to do the show with you. We've talked about this many a times again, and I'm very grateful that you're here with us, blessing with your presence. When it comes to this week, man, there's no other person I really like to talk to more than yourself, man. The last
appreciate it,
show
brother.
was incredible. I learned a lot from you, seeing that you played in college, you played in the pros, especially with the Eagles. And listen, once again, I'm blessed to have you. So. How's the weather right now? Are you okay down there?
We're good, man. It's cold. It's about what's my
Mm.
watch saying? It's 10 degrees.
Well, hey, it's
Uh
better than minus 27 right now.
whew,
So, I feel you.
man. The wind is crazy down here though.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this, weather like this, man, this really you really worry about like people places to stay, homeless
Mm-hmm.
people, stuff like that, man. Because it's like
Definitely.
one of those nights, man, where people
I hear
people
that.
might be in trouble, man.
I
So
hear
hey,
that.
count your blessings, man, and I'm glad we can be here and have a little fun for an hour or so.
Exactly. This is the time to be grateful for what you have in front of you, roof over your head, a nice blanket to, cuddle up with, and
Facts.
just be gracious to what we have, especially Christmas out there. You don't know what other people's situation is, so be grateful to everybody out there. And once again, it's time to have a little fun here. But Marcus, let's talk about. I mean, before we get into this week's game, and the Cowboys are on a downfall. Of course, the way I look at it, they're playing downward. To me, it was a get right game with the Jags. Well, we had a couple pages to get right, but we just added a couple situation pages on that. But before we get into that, let's talk about this Eagles Bears situation. I'll let you go first. What did you see regarding that?
Um, we got out of it. We made that game a lot more difficult than it
Mm-hmm.
needed to be. I was not happy with our offensive scheme at all.
Agree.
Um, Justin Fields did what I expect Justin Fields to do. We pretty much we had him handled, but he's going to make a great play every game. That's just the type of a player he is. And what should have been Hassan Reddick's third sack, he escaped and just created
Mm,
one of the most amazing plays I had seen all year. I
agree.
would have went on ahead and gave him the touchdown on GP because that was an incredible. He did step out of bounds, but I was like,
Mm,
"Listen, man, I'll give you on that. I'll give it to you on that one. That was an
agree.
incredible play,
Mm-hmm.
and that kid's got a future, man. But we handled our business. We made it difficult because I didn't understand our offensive game plan. It was 20 degrees, the wind
Mm-hmm.
was up, and we come out throwing a lot, throwing a long ball. And it was like, what are
Yes.
we doing? Like, let's run the ball. Let's, get Miles Sanders involved. Let's get Lane Johnson and Mylotta. Let's get them boys going. And let's do what we do best on the ground game. Miles
Mm-hmm.
Sanders is averaging 5.2 yards a carry. Give him the
Mm-hmm.
ball. And we just did. We kept throwing the ball. And I was like, and we kept RPOing. And like, what are we doing? I got a big thing, especially with me being a running back. Give the ball to the people you pay to run the ball. Stop
Mm-hmm.
your quarterback in harm's way. My thing is, if four, five, six RPOs in a game, I'm good with that. If he's got to run to scramble to get himself out of trouble, I got no problem with that. But when you have 17 called RPOs,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that's putting that's putting your best player in harm's way. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you go back and look at the play, he made a bad decision. He cuts it up, and he had Cal Katera blocking on the outside. He could have
Mm-hmm.
ran outside, probably would have got the same amount of yards,
Mm-hmm.
but he could have got out of bounds and he could have avoided the trouble. But the law of averages says when you run the ball that much as a quarterback, eventually somebody's going to get you. It wasn't a late hit. It wasn't a particularly hard hit. It was just the way he came down on him on the side. And I remember me and my wife were watching the game, and immediately I was like, I thought it was like a chest injury because I've been crushed before, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels like somebody punched you in the chest. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I immediately saw when he got back in the huddle, he had that grimace on his face. I was like, he's hurting a little bit. And I was, but it didn't need to happen. I didn't understand our scheme that day. Luckily, we played our way out of it. He still,
Right.
he still threw for 315. So again, am I
Mm-hmm.
complaining or am I nitpicking? It's hard to, when you still have a good game throwing the ball like that.
Right. Right.
But still, you cannot put your quarterback in harm's way like that. Too much.
I agree with you 100%. We're both learners of the game. You played the game, I learned the game, and I coached the game. I played the game as well, but not to a level that you have. But just in regards to what you said, I mean, it's 20-degree weather out there, and you're dropping back 37 times. I don't understand it when you just, like you said, you have 1,000-yard back in the backfield. He's paid to do this under any condition, but you're giving your quarterback on design RPOs 17 carries, that run in that kind of weather, and then to top it off with 37 drop back throws. I just didn't get it. I really didn't get it. I don't understand. I mean, is this just Jalen Hurts calling off the plays? Marcus, what do you think?
Well, they've talked a lot about him. Sirianni trusted him enough to see what's going on and make the right decision, and he has.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a sign of Jalen's growth because technically he really couldn't do that last year. Because you got to look at it, he's doing that on both sides. He's doing that running and passing. So if he sees something with the defense, he can call a play, get the ball to AJ or Devontae or Goddard, and make things happen. So his progression with his arm as well as his legs has been hands down above and beyond what anybody ever expected. So he's earned that trust to do that. The problem is as a coach, that is the thing that you're supposed to see. That's what you're supposed to recognize. And it's like, nope, let me take it out of his hands. It's like, okay, here's your series of plays. They always give him, a play with 3 or 4 different options based on what you see. Well, you got to take one of those options away. Line up in ace, line up in pistol. And if you see something, give the ball to Miles or Gainwell or whoever's back there and let them run the ball. Because they talked about Lane Johnson. He made the Pro Bowl. I believe he broke Whitmer's record. Whitmer that played for the Rams last year. I believe he broke his record for the most starts without giving up a sack.
Oh, Andre Whitworth, really? I didn't even know that. Wow, okay.
It's what I say, Whitworth.
Whitworth, yeah.
It's been like 3 years or something. It's been some ridiculous amount of starts, right? I want to see what the stats say. What is the average yards per carry for a running back running behind Lane Johnson? That's what I want to see.
Right.
Because for us, that's what matters the most. Because that's where we can dominate if they do it. And for some reason, even going all the way back to last year, these coaches have a hesitation to have a run first game plan. Run first makes everything happen. It makes the play action happen. It makes the passing game better. All of that kind of stuff starts from the run game. And why you wouldn't do that in 20-degree weather is beyond me. And that's what scares me about Sirianni. Getting to the playoffs and not coming across a better team, coming across a better coach.
As a Cowboy fan, I feel that every week. And, in my area, I mean, I agree with you 100%. You know how I feel. We talk, Marcus, many a times, and that could be a downfall for the Eagles. I mean, you run into a coach that plays, tendencies, of course, but you play to the weather, you play to the team, you play to what they are about. And that's something that could be scary because, to me, Sirianni's setting certain tendencies and ways. And we're starting to see that plan with him a little bit. Yes, he's winning. Of course, we see that. But to me, every coach has to be a little bit more humble than they should be. I mean, they got to learn different things and adapt to every week. Every game is a different week. Every player's a player. Every team is different. And to me, what I seen last week kind of shocked me a little bit with the Eagles, how they came out and, proposed this game plan. It really did.
Yeah, man. Like we were saying earlier, like every game, I usually record something pre-game, just my thoughts and stuff like that. And then halftime, I always do Facebook Live at halftime. And man, I'm in the backyard. I'm going off. I'm hot as fish grease, man. Because I'm like, what are they doing? Too many RPOs. It really just didn't make sense. This week I put together for one of my Facebook posts in my Facebook group, I put together a collage of about four or five clips of me complaining about too many RPOs. It was like it's too many. He's running the ball too much. If he scrambles, I'm good with that. But RPOs, and it was just like 4 or 5 times on the podcast where I'm talking about he's running the ball too much. Get the ball to Miles Sanders. Get the ball to Miles Sanders. And again, the law of averages is going to catch up with you. And another thing that's easily avoidable, very easily avoidable. And much like Dak this week, he threw a bad ball. That he threw a pick, and then there was another pick where that was on the receiver. But it shouldn't have even been in that position, man. We should have had well over 200 yards rushing that game. We didn't. So,
yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that one. I mean, listen, you got a 1,000-yard back in your backfield. Just like you said, you play the man to run the ball. You paid Jalen Hurts the money to manage the game in certain situations. Yes, I understand he's won many games with his legs. I give him 100% credit because the man will put the team on his back and do what he has to do. But just like you said, the law of averages, man, 9 out of 10 times, one of those times you're definitely going to get caught, and it could go the wrong way for you. Definitely could. But let me ask you this real quick. I wanted to ask you something about the Eagles here. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I mean, yes, they had both 100-yard games this week, 181, 126, no TDs. But I'm going to go back to Hurts with this question regarding that number I just gave you. Do you think if they take the RPO game or that audible away from Jalen Hurts, do you think his mindset will be a little bit different to where, they don't want me to run. Now I have to rely on my arm more, even though I have the weapons. Do you see this like a catch-22 situation with Jalen?
No.
I know he's a brilliant quarterback. I agree with what I know what you're going to say. I agree with it. But a lot of people say if you take away his legs to avoid getting hurt, you take away a lot of his mindset of the game. What do you think?
I disagree 100% because last year, that would be a valid comment. This year, no way. All you got to do is look at the Green Bay game.
True.
He had to air it out, and that's exactly what he did. And what people forget is he should have thrown for 400 yards that game. They took him out in the fourth quarter.
Agreed.
So he didn't even play a whole quarter. So he's progressed to the point where if you're not going to let him run, he can beat you up top.
Sure.
And he's shown that multiple games this year. So that's not a thing that he needs to worry about. Jalen is the perfect guy that you want leading the ship because everybody talked last year, and they always do this when there's something they don't like about a particular player. What do they always talk about? Intangibles. He's the leader. He's always in the gym. He's always studying film. They always want to hype that stuff because there's always something wrong or there's something that's not quite developed. You look at Josh Allen his first 2 years. He's a strong kid. He's got the great size. He's got a cannon of an arm, but the kid couldn't hit a mirror in the bathroom. But he took the time and he learned what he needed to learn and he made that step. Diggs didn't hurt. Same thing for us. We got Devontae Smith. He still wasn't quite developed as a passer. But even with his inadequacies as passing the ball, what happened last year? Devontae Smith, most yards for a rookie receiver ever. Got to be doing something right. So then he progressed. And I said this before. If you are a young quarterback, Zach Wilson, any of these other young quarterbacks coming out in the offseason, I would have Jalen Hurts' number on speed dial.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Where did you go in the offseason? Who did you talk to? What did you do? I want to do what you're doing. Because his turnaround, if he doesn't win MVP, and he probably won't because Mahomes is putting up like video game type numbers, dude. You can't argue with that. But he would be at least the most improved player from last year. Easily.
I definitely agree with that one. Definitely.
But back to the original question, man. The way he's been throwing the ball on time with accuracy, and he's been throwing to an area like a couple times, like he's been throwing passes before they make their breaks. So now he's comfortable and he knows enough to like, okay, I recognize the defense. Here's the spot that's going to be open. Let me get rid of the ball before Devontae makes his break, and everybody's in sync. And we're making those catches when we didn't do that in the past.
Right, and I agree with that 100%. Yep, and I agree with that 100% because wherever he trained, whatever he did, just like you said, if I'm a quarterback, a rookie quarterback, or anyone, even in the depth chart 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm calling him and say, hey, listen, what did you do? What helped you? And the thing that I see also is these receivers, the trust is there. Just like you
Yeah,
said, before you're making your break, we didn't see this from Jalen before. It was off target, high, low, behind target. This year, soon before the player makes a break, the ball is right there. 2 steps ahead of him, 1 step, ball, hands, leading the receiver to go. And he's been on point with these dime passes downfield in the basket. And that to me, like, this is a quarterback, but he has really shown what he could actually be. I mean, we know what he did in college. He's a winner. We already know that. But a lot of, just like you said, there's always that downfall no matter what.
yeah,
Paul, you do this wrong. Marcus, you do that wrong. Well, let's talk about the positives of what I do correct. Number one, there's always going to be that downfall from people. But listen, I want to ask you something. You did mention something. Let's talk about MVP real quick before we get into this game tomorrow. I want to propose a question to you.
hmm
Now, you said Jalen Hurts. Yes, I agree. It's definitely an MVP candidate, 1 or 2 right now. They could flip flop either way. We don't know, depending on how the back half of the season ends up. What's going to hurt Jalen is the injury, possibly sitting out a couple games when things are locked up. Mahomes, astronomical numbers. We've seen what he can do with nobody out there playing offense. Tyreek's gone. Yes, you have Kelsey. We understand that. Do you lean toward more Mahomes right now being the MVP?
Jalen Hurts should walk away with the MVP award
Okay.
if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes didn't exist,
Oh, okay.
I think Jalen deserves it
Mm-hmm.
because if you're going to go about, it's the question: is it the award for who's the most popular? Is it the award for who's putting up the gaudiest numbers, or
Agree.
is it the award for the most valuable player on their team?
Agree.
And I've heard some reports. I heard a couple people say, if it was anybody else that was 13-1, it would be no question.
Mm-hmm.
However, Patrick Mahomes is doing some stuff that's just like stupid.
Yes.
Like he's doing stuff like, I don't even see anybody do that on Madden. You know what I mean?
Agree.
He's doing video game type stuff consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've had their struggles. And you can go tit for tat. We've had our struggles, but you know what? Jalen Hurts brought us back. We shouldn't have been in the situation we were in against the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts brought us. That was the first time Jalen Hurts won that game. Period.
Mm-hmm.
We had the one loss, and this is my opinion. Jalen Hurts has not had a bad game yet.
Mm-hmm.
When we lost against Washington, that was not on Jalen Hurts. We lost that game because we gave the ball up 3 times.
Definitely.
He throws a perfect pass to AJ Brown. It bounces off of his hand. That's pick number 1. Then we get the crazy no call for Dallas Goedert, the face mask. He drops the ball. They get that. And then that last play, we're driving. We would have taken the lead. He hits Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins basically should have almost scored, or we would have at least been in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And he fumbles the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So we gave that game away. We didn't get beat.
Agree with that one.
So I would say that and again, it's hard to say. Even with his 315 yards passing he had against Chicago, I think Chicago had been his, I guess, worst game, quote unquote.
Yeah,
so,
but I don't want to put that on him. I want to put that on Sirianni, number 1. To put him in a position there to do the play the way they played. Honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, let me ask you this. I proposed this question on our page before, and I heard a lot of different opinions. Everybody's opinionated, but if I put Jalen Hurts on the Kansas City Chiefs under Andy Reid with that system, wide receiver, nothing changes, and I take Mahomes and put him on this team here, what's the Kansas City Chiefs record, and what is the Eagles record right now?
That's a good question. I would give Kansas City 1 or 2 more losses.
Okay.
And I think the Eagles would be right where they are. And the only reason I say that is because now you got Mahomes with our defense.
True. And something he's really, Kansas City is a great team, but they've always been that defensive, limited. Let's put limited on defense, but offense is always a juggernaut. The reason why I ask you that, Marcus, is because I hear a lot of people, I'm in that situation where it relies on your system, your defense, and who's around you. Of course, we already know that. But the thing is, I look at what Kansas City has this year.
Mhm.
They were spiraling downfall with what they lost off the paper last year. We always talk about, you lose Tyreek, you lose this guy, you bring in Schuster, who really hasn't done anything this year for that team. You think about the things of who he has, Kelsey, limited running game. We don't know who's playing running back with him sometimes, under Andy Reid's system. We don't know.
Mhm.
But Andy Reid in any system can make anybody better. We know that. And
Right.
that's why I was asked people, what if Jalen Hurts played here? Or of course he does here, but if he went over to Kansas City, how would he look? Just imagine, Patrick Mahomes, just last week, that little magician pass that he had. He improvises. I've never seen anybody in the NFL improvise the way he does.
Exactly. And I think he would do the same thing. And also the difference between him and Jalen is if Jalen doesn't see something, he's out. He's gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And he has been running very smart this year. Get out
True.
of bounds because he really hasn't taken that many hits. It's just his catching up with him.
Agree.
Mahomes scrambles to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's not looking to run. He'll do it if
No.
he has to,
Mm-hmm.
but he's looking to break somebody open.
Agree.
And of course, the kid throwing sideways, behind his back, upside
Mm-hmm.
down, and between his legs, and all that kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
He's on another level when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, speaking of
that's
stats, real quick,
Mhm.
Sean brings up Hurts' stats here for 2022: 2,200 passing yards, 14 TDs, 5 interceptions, 63 QBR, 354 rushing, 7 TDs. Now we see that. Now he brought up a Mahomes stat as well: 2,900 rushing passing yards, 25 TDs, 7 interceptions, 78 QBR, 215 rushing yards. But just like you said, Marcus, I understand those stats. But if you watch Mahomes play, just like you said, he's not looking to run number one. He's looking to expand the play
Mhm.
without running the ball. I don't know if I can ever recall a QB in the NFL who can run the ball. Yes, he has speed, but before he runs to the line of scrimmage, he's looking at that chain to see where the first down marker is. Because number one, you don't want to run. And
Mhm.
I've never seen this man. He could be inches away from the line of scrimmage, throw the ball, because he always tries to extend that play downfield one way or the other.
Right.
Hurts is a different breed. If it's 4th and 1, 4th and 10, he's going to try to get you that 10 yards if it breaks down. Mahomes, he's more of a scrambler. He looks to continue. There's a huge difference between the both, but I think Mahomes is going to win the MVP this year. But once again, you raised a great question. Is it the best player on the team, or is it the best player in the NFL?
Yeah. I think I wish that they would the MVP. I
Mm-hmm.
wish they would. I wish it wasn't a media voted thing. I wish it was all players
I agree 100%.
because
100%.
players watch tape,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want as much as I love him, I don't want Shady McCoy having a vote. You know what I mean? Because he's biased. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, with the comments, yes, we already know.
exactly, I don't want Skip Bayless having a vote because he's
Mm,
biased. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So if you are going to be in the media and have a vote, I want you to have played before.
exactly.
So then that
Hmm.
makes a little bit more sense because again, most of these media heads, uh, they don't know what they're talking about.
Agree,
I
100%.
posted on my Facebook a couple days ago. Somebody had brought up a quote. This was somebody on WIP here in Philly
Hmm.
that said they were when the news came out that the Colts had traded Carson Wentz to the Commanders, and somebody put a quote that said, "People are gonna find out that Carson Wentz is a much better quarterback than Hurts. He's gonna be great for Washington." And then
Mm,
you see what happened, and I'm like, "Yeah, that didn't age well."
hmm.
But people like the things that Hurts is doing is so far above and beyond what
Hmm.
anybody his expectations.
Hmm.
Um, I know I talked about earlier this year. Like I didn't want Jalen to be great. I didn't want a great quarterback. I wanted a good quarterback, a good and consistent quarterback. I was like, with our defensive pieces we got, all
Hmm.
he's got to be is good and consistent. The fact that he is great now, that's icing on the cake.
Agree,
So
agree. Hmm. Yep.
his man, whatever he did in the offseason, whatever coach he trained with is about to get paid this year.
Yeah, as soon as Jalen Hurts name drops that situation there, he might have
Absolutely.
a loading truck right outside in his front yard with bags of money here. I agree with that.
Everybody's
But
gonna be looking for that dude.
yes, sir. But before we get into this one game, I got one more topic because you led
Sure.
me to. We led into something really good here. Can we talk about some officiating in the NFL this year?
Oh Lord, god
Mm.
awful.
I mean, we don't have to go deep into the year here, but let's just talk about something we seen last week.
That situation in
Mm.
Washington was god awful.
Mm.
It's you know what when people start bringing up what's his name? What was the NBA ref? Donahue,
Donahue, something like that, wasn't it?
Donahue.
Or
When,
yeah,
when
something
people
like.
when people start bringing his name up,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're looking at the Commanders and how the NFL looks at Dan Snyder, you
Mm-hmm.
start looking at okay, I can see that because like I mentioned before we went live,
Mm-hmm.
missed plays by the refs that is going to happen every game. Period.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to happen. But when you intentionally mislead somebody on the field, that's cheating in my book. That's cheating. You can see Terry McLaurin clearly looked at the ref, acknowledged each other. He moved up twice.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to look at the ref twice. And he still threw the flag. Had his flag ready to throw it. That happened again earlier in the year. What was that? It was like a pass interference or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was early in the year when somebody bumped into a ref by mistake.
I remember this, yes.
And the ref looked like he was ready to pull his flag before he did it.
I know what game it is. I can't recall. I know what game. I just can't picture the team now, Marcus.
But he shouldn't have thrown it. And I remember talking about that then when that happened because
for some reason I'm thinking. For some reason, I know it was the AFC game. I remember. I think it was.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh,
matter of fact, I think the guy didn't even touch him. I think it was with JJ Watts.
That I think it was. I think it. No, I don't think it was JJ Watt. I think it was a Pittsburgh game for some reason.
Yeah. The dude didn't even touch him. He just looked at him or something like that.
He went right by him and he went like that. Didn't even touch him, and the flag flew.
Touch him.
Yep. But we're going with exactly what you said, Marcus. Now, I've coached PIAA, and I've coached Little League from 5 years old all the way up to 14, where I'm at now. As an offensive guy, you always tell your wide receiver, listen, check with the head ref on the side there. That side judge is there for number one. He's there for a reason. To me, a lot of times, yes, that wide receiver can cover a tight end, but he had a slot guy there. Okay, he was off ball, McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
He moved up the slot receiver moved. So now he has to move up one more step. That was number one. He looked at him. Number two, the man went in motion. He looked at the ref again. Am I good? Yes, you're good. He set. They went in motion. What got me is even before, I want to use that word. We talk about murders. To me, this was a murder, Marcus. Mm-hmm. It was premeditated.
Yep.
He had his hand on the flag before the ball was still in cadence. Yep. Ball snap, flags released.
And here's what makes it even worse. The NFL can pull audio on anything. So there's audio.
Mm-hmm.
You know them dudes standing on the sideline with them big old
the big boom mics and everything. You and I already
know. Man. Mm-hmm. So they got that on audio. Whatever Terry McLaurin said, but they're not going to release that.
That's never going to be released. That's an ESPN 30 for 30 35 years from now. Mm-hmm.
Who was it for Pittsburgh? The quarterback that got hit on the head with the helmet.
Mason Rudolph.
And they said
Myles Garrett.
Myles said he said something to him.
Mm-hmm.
They never released that audio.
That'll never be released as well. We already know that. Mm-hmm.
Nope. So, the NFL's got a powder keg sitting under it, man. And all of them jokers are smoking cigars. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
I agree.
All of this stuff with Dan Snyder, the stuff still ain't over with John Gruden. And, even not to get too off topic, but that whole situation with Dan Snyder, like, listen, you don't send emails and stuff like that to people that don't talk that type of language.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
If you talking like that, whoever you talking with, y'all got to speak the same language, and that's what they don't want to get out because that's going to blow it up. Because you already know it's some owners that talk like that.
Mm-hmm.
You already know.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL might find themselves in a bad situation because hopefully they're not stupid enough to do what baseball did and deny. And then when you get it in front of a congressional hearing or something like that,
it all's going to come out.
Exactly. Like you better tell what it is, or you go end up behind bars. So
yep, I agree.
But
I mean, we didn't even talk about the mugging, and I don't even think we really want to get into that. Open that one
piggyback.
Up. Exactly. Yeah, the premeditated piggyback ride. Put it that way. But Mark, I want to last thing before we get into this game. This is definitely the last thing I want to ask you regarding the referee situations. And I know you play college ball. and I know they lined you up in a slot many a times and playing wide out as well. Were you ever coached from any age to they told you to trust that side, Judge?
We did it when I was down here coaching GT Stallions. We would do the same thing.
Mm.
I said, look at the ref,
Mm-hmm.
and kids scared to talk, so I gotta say, just point to the ref and
Mm-hmm.
just say, "Am I on?"
Mm-hmm.
And they will, and even the Pee Wee refs, they'll say yes or
Mm-hmm.
scoot up a little bit. They working with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I say that was so egregious, because he literally misled the guy
True.
and threw the penalty. And to me, that is blatant cheating.
It is.
And how the NFL can't get called on the carpet for that is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Because you when stuff like that happens, the people in Vegas got to be going nuts. Got to be going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you got betting money, fantasy money, parlay money, everything that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I mean, think about it like this: how in tune does Vegas have to be with what's going on in the NFL? If Vegas starts changing the lines on the game, and we didn't even have information about Jalen being hurt.
True. Very true. Very true. Mm-hmm.
They were on the I was listening to somebody, they were on the air, and the guy on the air was like, hold on, something's not right. The line just went down it went from +5 to 0, and like they know something. And that's when everybody started thinking, like, does Jalen have a broken collarbone? Or you had all these crazy stories start coming out.
Right.
Because Vegas changed the line. So if they can get that type of information that quick, they got some chefs in the kitchen, man. And,
yeah, I tell you, Marcus, just like betting. I do bet a lot. I constantly bet here, and when I look at that line, Dallas was basically it was a pick 'em. It was -1 for a little bit. Then all of a sudden the line jumped to -6, and just like you said, we didn't even hear anything. I mean, I heard rumors from it was a grade 2 sprain, grade 3 sprain. My man's in a coma. He had, he died in the hospital last night. I don't know what to believe. And then all of a sudden, Vegas has already had this. Well, we already pinpointed it exactly what it is. So Vegas knows something. They do have some people, just like you said, some chefs in the kitchen or some sous chefs somewhere. Because I tell you, But hey, let's get into what we came here for. We got a game tomorrow night. Listen. Magic number for both teams is 1, sitting with 3 games left. Let's talk first. Who needs this game more?
I don't know. It's a toss-up. Everybody wants that. I would say we need it more because we want that bye. We want that first week bye.
Well, let me ask you, how confident are you? If you lose to the Cowboys, you still got 2 games remaining. You have the Saints, and of course you have the Giants. I'm pretty confident that 1 out of 3 is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I'm supremely confident that we can win 1 game out of these last 3. The Saints are not as bad as people think,
right?
But I don't think they match up with us well. And let me be honest with you, I can handle getting beat by Cooper Rush, but getting beat by Andy Dalton, and I'm from Cincinnati, so I got love for Andy Dalton, but not
Big Red this week, right? Next week, right?
we got to handle our business, or we got to get back to the Giants and handle the business there, because the Giants are just a one-face team. They got Saquon Barkley and nobody else. Daniel Jones is not the answer.
True.
Dayball's run out of steam, so he is what he is. If you can stop Saquon, they got nothing.
True.
So, I agree. I'm supremely confident we can win 1 game. This game, obviously, with the situation with Gardner Minshew starting, is not a slam dunk, but I think a lot of people discount Gardner Minshew. He's got that type of attitude where he loves proving you wrong.
He has a little hidden agenda with the Mike Leach situation as well.
You know what? I saw that the other day, and I was like, I never thought about that.
I mean, a lot of players play for your coach, and I tell you, he meant a lot to people. He was a guru of the the air raid, the inventor. And I tell you, Gardner Minshew has some high praises for him, and some people that sticks with. It really does. I remember my high school coach. I played. I remember things like that, and certain people stick to you, but you use that as a little momentum, a little additive there. But I think the Cowboys have a little bit more to play for this week, because the reason why, Marcus, is you and I look to the future. We look ahead of us. A lot of times you coin it, play who's in front of you that week only. But in my situation, I'm looking forward to week 16 and 17 here, because of the fact we have Tennessee the week after.
Mm.
And you know what? Oh, Jacksonville's right on their coattails. You know, they still have a shot at this division. They're number one. And Dallas, the way they've been playing, their running defense is not up to par with what we're used to in the beginning of the season. Number three, that last week, Washington. They have a lot to play for right now.
Yep.
And my philosophy is, I always use to my little league team, regardless of records, you might be 1-9 and they might be 9-1. Well, we could be more hungry than them because our back's against the wall.
Yep.
And a wounded dog is the most vicious animal in a room by itself, learning how to fight and trying to fight their way out. And that's why I think the Cowboys game this week, yes, we can win one of the next three to guarantee lock up seed 5, that's as high as we can go because we know you ain't coming off the one. We already know that. But I think the Cowboys got a little bit more to play for this week.
Well, yeah, and it actually goes back and makes that Commanders loss that much more important because
tiebreaker, a conference
exactly,
record.
exactly. So, yeah, man, I don't disagree with you. You guys have got got some tough games. Tennessee is going to be a tough out.
It is, definitely will be. I mean, you look at Tannehill, he's already out. You got Marcus Willis down there.
Yep.
Listen, they still have King Ring. Last I was heard, a great running back and a man that can tote the ball 30 times a game if he needs to be. Yep. They do got some young receivers out there. Traylon Burks is a high flyer as well. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday is my turn. But listen, you got to take care of what's in front of you. High as we can go is wrap up seed position number 5 and. That's what's on the plate this week, and that's all I'm looking. That's my Christmas present is seed number 5.
And your last game against Washington, that's going to be critical because I don't, regardless of their record, Washington has a bomb defense, man.
Yes, and the funny thing is Chase Young hasn't even played yet.
Yeah, listen, I've been pulling for that kid. Like I tell people, like I was, I got some flack on my Facebook page. Because I was on a Commander site,
and
they were like,
too.
"Aren't you an Eagles fan?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "So why are you on a Commander site?" And I was like, "Listen, first of all, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so I'm all about John Riggins and all of that. I grew up with that,
the Hogs,
right?" But I said my when I played in the World League, Doug Williams was my coach.
Oh, I never knew that, Marcus.
So, dude, I got love for the Redskins. Let me say it like that. The old school Redskins, yes. Doug Williams,
Art
John Riggins. Yeah, man. So I used to love the Redskins back in the day, man. So I still watch the NFL, and I'm pulling for this kid. Like I want to see Chase Young play because it was horrible what happened to him, yes. And that road to recovery, man, is a mental grind. And for him to get back, and then it's like Chase Young might play against the Eagles. Nope. Then the next week, nope. Then the next week, nope. And it's like that kid is chomping at the bit. However, he can look in the rearview mirror, see what happened to RG3 when he came back too soon, and yes. You don't want to make those same mistakes. So it's very, very difficult, and it's a crazy head game when your mind is saying you got to get out there. And everybody wants to take their time because if that kid gets healthy, man, he's a game changer. So I'm really pulling for this kid. I really want to watch him play this weekend, and I'm hoping he's healthy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm old school. I'm 51. I'm growing up back in the day of the Hogs. Situation. Yeah. I'm a fan of the entire NFC East number 1. I remember those days, and I see that. Like I'm gonna tell you, last week, and I was ready for Chase Young to play. They said he's playing the first game back. I chimed into the game. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see Chase Young. It's time for him to eat. He's been progressing all this time. And when I seen him on the sideline, my heart dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, man, really? I wanted to see this kid strive, because I remember watching him. Exactly. That's the thing.
In the work, man.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Gardner Minshew here. I'll start first real quick. I'll just say one thing. A lot of my Eagles friends, think that, yeah, we're starting to back up. The advantage is Cowboys. I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way, Marcus. To me, yes, he's a backup. Of course, he can start on a couple NFL teams out there. We know that. But the thing is, what he's surrounded with right now, you have a all-pro line, I want to say, as your offensive line. 5 offensive Pro Bowl selections, number one. Well, let's talk about A.J. Brown. Let's talk about Devontae Smith. Let's talk about Miles Sanders. And let's talk about a person coming back called Dallas Goedert.
Hello.
You have weapons all around. You don't need to come out and throw the ball 500 times a game. You don't need to run the RPO 17 times this week. You drop back, hand the ball off, take a couple play action shots downfield, manage the game. Manage the game. That's all he has to do. I don't see a clear advantage at all. What do you see?
I agree with you 100%. It all comes down to Shane Steichen has been relatively good this year, and I think he'll come up with a good game plan for him. But we need to do the same thing we did last game. I don't know what the situation is with Micah Parsons, with him being sick and everything, but
I was looking at today. He did practice the last 2 days, so he's fine.
At the end of the day, he's the best defensive player on the field, and the only way you can beat him is to attack him, run him.
Agree.
Don't let him. His speed is his greatest weapon, so you got to attack him. It is. Everybody in Philly knows that Micah Parsons didn't do much until Lane Johnson got hurt. So again, Lane Johnson is the key. Run behind him, do whatever you got to do.
Agreed.
He's going to get Minshew's going to get his opportunity, and you know what? Don't be surprised if Minshew runs a couple of RPOs.
Yeah, he has wheels out there. He's smart.
Exactly, and I look at him like when we played Tennessee, Tannehill had more rushing yards than Henry did.
Exactly,
but it was him scrambling. But I'm saying that to say Tannehill was fast enough to get around the corner on us and pick up and move the sticks and do stuff like that. He wasn't running to run. He took what we gave him. And I think Gardner Minshew is going to do the same thing. He already has a good rapport with Dallas Goedert. If you go back and look at the game last year, year when y'all put up that 50 burger on us, y'all had the starters and we didn't.
And Sean just put a comment up there the last game. In that game right there, Minshew 20 of 25. Yeah, and both TDs were to Goddard.
Exactly. Exactly. And the first half of that game was a good half. The second half, we took some of the starters out and y'all just ran away with it. But Minshew played well. I think he's going to play well again. We'll just be smart and again put the ball in the hands of the people we pay to run the ball. We shouldn't have any problems. Agreed. You can still hit Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I say don't try to go to long ball. Go short to mid. And we should be fine. Let our playmakers make plays.
I agree 100%. I coach offense up here, and if I'm Sirianni, this is what I'm telling you. I'm talking one-on-one real quick before the game. A couple of days before the game, tomorrow, I'm calling up and saying, listen, here's what I'm going to tell you. We're going to put you in a position to win the game. We're not asking you to go out there and be the all-star. We're not asking you to be Jalen Hurts today. But we're going to put you in a position to win the game. We're going to have you run the ball and take what the defense gives you. If they give you the 5-yard out, take the 5-yard out. They give you a little, the defense, you want to run an RPO, defense, drops, he doesn't contain outside, go ahead, run a couple yards. Play safe, play smart, take what the defense gives you, and we're going to run play action. We're going to run the ball. We're going to get you a couple shots down the field. Just take what the defense gives you and manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. We're going to win this game. That's what I'm telling Minshew.
Uncle Rico to the rescue, man.
I get that.
And as far as what's going on defense, man, just do what we've been doing. The biggest threat is we got to stop
Pollard.
We got to stop Pollard.
Now I have a question for you. For you, real quick.
Sure.
I see a kind of a mismatch with Pollard against your linebacker. Am I going to see Kazir White? I think there's a better option. I think there's a better option on your team, though.
Nakobe Dean, absolutely.
Thank you,
Nakobe Dean.
I don't want to say speed versus speed, but there is a little bit of advantage.
Here's what I say, and let me preface this by saying I am a Kaiser White fan.
Okay.
I've been the biggest cheerleader for Kaiser White since we signed him because I watched tape on Kaiser White and I was like, same as Bradbury. I was like, how the hell are they letting him go?
Oh,
and he's been balling.
Don't get me started.
Ever since. And Kaiser White is fast. However, Nakobe Dean is a little bit faster. And I think Nakobe Dean would match up better because he's small and quick.
Exactly.
As opposed to I think Kaiser White's overall speed might be better,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't have the quicks. He's quick, but he ain't that quick. He ain't
I
Pollard quick.
exactly. I use the thing where I love how we're thinking here, like on the same page here, like with the name drop here. I think Kaiser White to me, I don't want to say, I'm not taking anything away from, please don't think that. To me, Kaiser White is more of the north and south versus Nakobe Dean east and west.
Facts.
The speed there. And I think that advantage goes to Nakobe Dean when you're playing a back like Tony Pollard. Anything he touches, he can take to the house. He goes to tackle. He's solid enough to wait, and then explode.
Yep.
And that to me, like, listen, if you're speed on speed, well, it's 50-50 shot here. Versus Kaiser White, maybe we have that advantage. That 60-40 Pollard slot. That little move, that first move might get you that east-west move. That's the only thing right there. But how do you stop Tony Pollard?
The same way you contain him.
Mm-hmm.
You don't let him get big plays like that play when he tight walked a couple weeks ago.
Goodness,
like what are you eating, bro? That was incredible. I was like, as a running back, I was like, bro, chef's kiss, bro. Like that's how you do it, man. He is a mid-sized guy. He can run through the tackles. He's got the speed to leave you. He's got good balance, and he can tight walk, and he can catch the ball.
Exactly.
He is, in my opinion, he is as I don't want to say he is.
Are we going CMC? Are we going CMC here?
He is as effective as Christian McCaffrey. Facts. McCaffrey, I think, is a little bit better back because McCaffrey is a little bit bigger.
It's a little more power. I give McCaffrey power advantage.
But they got the same skill set.
Agree.
They got the same exact skill set. Now, if Pollard had an extra 15 pounds on him, I think they would be equal. But he's doing his own thing. It's Dallas has been doing a disservice to the team by keeping Zeke as a starter.
I agree 100%. 100%.
And that kid, we gotta slow him down. I agree with you 100%. I think Nakobe Dean is best to do that.
Okay.
I don't think Gannon is going to make that change.
I don't think so.
So what's going to happen is Kaiser White they're going to try to keep everything in front.
Mm-hmm.
If they do that, they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But mismatches, man, I would expect Dallas to put him in motion a lot so they can get him out of that situation based on the formation.
I love how you say that, but we have Kellen Moore, okay? There's a lot of window dressing out there, Marcus, but, honestly, it's Christmas time, and I really don't want to window shop 100% on what I'm going to see tomorrow. I love the shop, but, Dallas is that offense that puts the window dressing out there, that window shop, and it's just a mirage of what you see versus what you're actually going to buy.
Well, I mean, here's the one thing I know that Dallas is going to do, and they're going to go do well because they did it the first game, and I was like,
hopefully it's play action.
They do that one play action where Zeke is going to the right, and the tight end sneaks underneath, and he goes in just no man's land. Y'all killed us with that about 4 or 5 times that first game, and I was like, because my thing is like, we can do that, we just choose not to, and I'm like, that's a perfect play for Goddard, or if you want to move AJ or Devontae in motion, or even stick Wes Watkins out there or something. We got options to do that, and we don't do it, and it drives me nuts. Because one of my big pet peeves is we do too many runs out of gun. I'm like, I hate that we run the ball. We get a ball to Miles Sanders going east and west. Give him the ball going north and south. Get behind Mailata, get behind Lane Johnson, and go forward. That sideways stuff, it drives me nuts.
Let me ask you this real quick, Marcus. Now I know you were a hell of a running back in college. I went back and I watched some of the things that we talked about in the previous show. I have a good quarterback up here, but I barely ever put him in the gunner pistol. We have a great running back. I like my running back full head of steam.
I
getting
agree.
the ball. Does that, being a running back, does that RPO take away a lot of you, going north and south and versus east and west?
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you feel about that? If you're in a situation, hey, we're going to run an ISO or, like a 26 blast up the middle here, but you're in gun.
It drives me nuts. I hate it.
Okay.
Because they do that. They even do that on goal line. And the goal line is a place like you really don't need to be running north or east and west. It's got to be north and south. And they do that everywhere, because if you look at the beginning, our first 4 or 5 games, our goal line offense was hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. And if it's not for Jalen scoring all them touchdowns, we
Great.
might be in some trouble. So
Agreed.
it again, it's hard to complain when we putting up the numbers that we're putting up, but I just hate it. Rob Hefner, I'm looking at your comment. I agree with you 100%. We need to sign
Agreed.
Bradbury,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would run because I love how Dallas runs the ball. You put Zeke 6-7 yards deep. You put Pollard 6 to 7
Yes.
yards deep,
Mm-hmm.
and you come straight downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's zone read. So basically, you got your linemen. Make sure they get good splits. You know which man you got. You know, do you have are you taking a defensive tackle or in, or are you
Mm-hmm.
chipping up and getting to the linebacker?
Exactly.
Whatever you do, you got enough room where when you see that running back coming downhill,
Mm-hmm.
linebacker's going to do one or two things. He's going to step out or step at an angle based on which hole he's hit.
Mm-hmm.
And once you determine an angle, you can read the blocks, and then you do what running backs do. You make the cut and you go off. That's the easiest way to do it, especially when you got a top tier offensive line. I
Agreed.
always
100%.
look at. I will tell anybody, if you want to learn how to run your running backs, go back and look at Terrell Davis with Denver. That's how you do it.
And that was what did they use called that zone block
They
situation?
call it zone block. So he never really had a hole.
Mm-hmm.
They just got him the ball as deep as possible, and you go with what you see. If the hole is a severe cutback behind the center, you cut it back.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep going on your same course and you go behind the tackle, so be it. But
Right.
you see, and the angles they would take, somebody's going to get a block, somebody's going to go chip up and get to the second level, and you'll see the hole and you hit it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to do it.
Exactly. I agree with that. Now, do you see, I mean, I want to go back to, we'll just, go back and forth here. Regarding Parsons, I like how you said a lot of people's, he is the motor of the team. We already know that. He's the best defensive player in the game in many NFL games that we see. But I like the term that you said, attack him. A lot of teams don't attack him. They let him run free. You take away speed of Micah Parsons, you're at an advantage already. Now, do you see, I know Lane Johnson, is a hell of a player out there. And that's where he's going to be pretty much lined up at. Do you see a lot of one-on-ones, or do you still see a lot of chipping on Micah Parsons?
With Lane Johnson, there was a lot of one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
When Lane Johnson went out, then we needed some help because he was just killing us.
Right.
The best thing you can do to take away somebody's speed is attack them. Because if we're attacking you, speed is not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Technique is an issue.
Agree. Mm-hmm.
How do you are you getting lower than my offensive lineman? And then you got to worry about a thing called physics. Right. So it's 230 pounds versus 340 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to win that battle all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds are in our favor when you attack somebody with the running game. If you got to set, if Lane Johnson has to set back and you got a 230-pound 4-3 guy coming across the line of scrimmage, speed is his advantage.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing that Micah Parsons is doing is the same thing that Hassan Reddick is doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's lining up. He's a big 235-pound guy and has got good speed off the ball. Parsons is definitely faster than Hassan Reddick, but Hassan Reddick's hands are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And he bends and he gets down low and he gets around and he can turn that corner. And all he's got to do is get a paw on you. Micah Parsons is the same, except he can also cover a wide receiver.
Very true.
You know what I mean? So he's got more tools in his tool belt. But you can eliminate that when you go right at him because there's only certain things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got to make a decision. Are you going to fill the gap, or are you going to try to play with him and try to make the running back go in a different direction?
Agreed.
If you're going to do that, that only works when you get penetration. And again, you're not getting penetration on the 300-something pound offensive tackle.
Yeah, the laws of leverage favor that situation with the big man right there. Of course, we already know that. But now I have a question for you. Now we already know the middle of the field with Parsons playing the end and the outside linebacker position, which is going to rotate back and forth here. The middle of the field and middle linebacker is pretty much going to be wide open. LEV is a good coverage guy, but he's out for 2 weeks, I'm hearing. Are you attacking that middle of the field with tight ends coming on cross routes?
Yeah. With Van Der Esch out, I never thought Van Der Esch was a very good cover guy anyways.
Well, I really want to say that I think he's better east and west, but if he's going down, north and south, it's a mismatch on our downfall. But East and
Right.
West, he's okay. Within, I want to say maybe 5 to 6 yards. Anything other than that,
Well, yeah, but I try to take it a step further because it doesn't matter. Everybody's good enough to cover their zone.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What you're not good enough is if we can, based on motion or based on formation, if we can get you lined up with Miles Sanders or Kenneth Gainwell, we should win that battle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily the scheme, it's the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
If somehow we switch some things up and Van Der Esch's or whoever's playing that position has got to go up against AJ or Devontae, we're going to win that battle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the chess match is your formation packages,
right,
and who goes in motion and where. That's what really changes things up. And then you can still sneak Miles underneath and stuff like that, clear out the zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of takes me back to what are we going to do with play action? That helps. You get those linebackers to take a step up, that clears the zone behind you. And if you're playing one or two high, if those safeties come up, that leaves a little bit more room if you want to take the top off. So again, it's a chess match with the matchups and what the defense gives you. If we're going to take advantage of that middle, I want to put somebody fast going up against those linebackers. We should win that battle every time.
Yep. And what I think Dallas is going to come out, I think they're going to have a too high safety right away, because that's just how Dallas play. We haven't seen it a lot because Trayvon Diggs is questionable right now. He's already questionable out there. And with Kelvin Joseph, I think I don't like to degrade players, but Anthony Brown, I used to call him Anthony Toast Brown. I never seen anybody get burnt that much in my life. Like, goodness gracious, I like my morning coffee with a piece of toast, but every time I have my toast, I think of Anthony Brown. But I hate to say it, but I miss my guy Anthony Brown right now with Kelvin Joseph out there.
Man, he reminds me a lot of Josiah Scott. When we had injuries and Josiah Scott got in there, and again, I got love for Josiah Scott. He's a Cincinnati kid from the hometown. I'm pulling for you, young fella. But those first couple of games, he looked lost.
Yes,
he looked so lost, and it was quite evident. Now, not so much. Now he looks like he's got his feet under him. He knows what he's doing. He's not out there thinking. So, and that's what it looks like for your guy, and it'll get better. But it needs to get better quickly.
Yeah, well, he's already been benched this week. We have the rookie, Damon Blandis playing this week.
And if you got a rookie out there, what do you do to a rookie? Attack him.
That's what I want to see this week. That's why I'm thinking that double high safety is going to be in play this week, because I don't think that they're going to have enough confidence going one-on-one on the outside. And just like you said, what scares me the most, Marcus, is the motion to get the mismatch of where you're looking at. If you can get the motion, a lot of times, because we know these linebackers, they don't carry all the way through. A lot of these corners, they just pass through. They switch you off to another guy. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot, where they're going to try to switch you off, get a different man on you. And just like you said, with Gainwell out there, you might even see, put Devontae Smith in motion a little bit to the opposite side to see who carries through that opposite side. And that's just where eventually you can just make the read. Well, there's my mismatch right there. There's my mismatch there. Well, you know what? I'm killing this because right there, that's an easy 6 yards on a flat-out route. I'm going right there. But do you see any advantages the Cowboys can have this week? Let's talk about the world. Of course, T.Y. Hilton's there this week. A lot of game planning comes in.
Listen, I'm not worried about T.Y. and I'm not worried about Jason Peters.
We had to go there, Marcus.
JP gonna get embarrassed this week, man.
Let me ask you real quick. Are we booing him, or what are we doing when he comes on the field?
Oh, the Eagles fans down there?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, they're gonna give him the business. They're gonna give him the business. They love him. They love they love the bodyguard. They love the bodyguard, but it was like, come on, man. It was like sacrilege. You going to Dallas, bro? I'm like, I don't care. Like, get your check, bro.
Yes.
But the Philly faithful up here, man, they was like, come on, dude. You can, because in a perfect world, you want your guys to retire, come back, sign that, contract for $1 so you can retire as an Eagle and stuff like that. And
Speaking
when he
of,
comes back and when he actually does that, he's going to
true.
go into the Eagles Ring of Honor
Mm-hmm.
and all of this stuff. The same way that when Dawkins went to Denver, Dawkins is our dude. Period.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel
You
just
know,
like with Emmitt Smith to me.
absolutely, man,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So there's some people that just don't belong in other uniforms, and JP
Agreed.
does not belong in the Dallas uniform. But I ain't mad at you, man, that you cashed that check. Can't get mad at you for making money, bro.
Exactly.
But again, the original question: if depending on how Gannon plays all year, that mid 10 to 20 yard middle of the field for us has been suspect all year.
Mm-hmm.
Suspect all year. When we lost to Washington, that's what they kept hitting us with.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't throwing the ball deep. They were throwing the ball 10 to 15 yards across the middle, or they were hitting us with those deep outs. And for whatever reason, whatever scheme we was running, we couldn't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. Green Bay did the same thing. Christian Watson across the middle, gone. So you'll hear me say the long ball is overrated, man. You get your short to mid passes, get the ball to your playmakers and let your playmakers make plays. If somebody gets that ball going across the middle, that's going to be a big game. We haven't stopped that all year. That's our weakness.
Yep, I like how you said that because a lot of people, me being a Cowboys fan, I see both sides of it. Yes, I like the deep ball. If you got a one-on-one there, I like my chances. I like Gallup, size, Lamb, size. But that mid-range game, that's where my man CD Lamb does most of his damage.
Yeah.
That's where Dalton Schultz does most of his damage. That 10 to 15, 20-yard deep route, well, I don't even want to call it a deep route. That middle of the field is a wide open no man's land. And I watched the Eagles play, and I think that's a downfall that they do have. Yep. And I think if Dallas attacks that, because I think we're going to open up with the running game, of course, I hope we do that. Set up the run, set up the play action. And I think we're going to see a lot of a one-back system, one tight end, twins maybe right, twins maybe left with a single guy on the opposite side to stretch the field to make you leave that zone open in the back of the half. I think that's what I'm going to see with the Cowboys if we play smart. But then again, we do have Kellen Moore, the Mr. I used to call him the coin the term. I used to call him, the Wonder Boy. A couple games we see now, I call him like the dollar store bread boy sometimes. Goodness gracious, sometimes.
You got to think about it like this, man. That short to middle is the long ball play action.
Yeah, agree.
Because when you start hitting that 10 to 20 yards in the middle, that brings the safeties up. So then you take the top off. You just waiting for that one play, hit somebody with a double move, or you run that late deep slant. But they're looking for somebody coming up the middle. And again, all you got to do is get somebody to take one step forward. One step forward equals 3 to 5 yards in separation. That's all you need. So we've been better at that lately. But it's still a situation where it's open. We haven't because our defensive line has been playing so well and getting to the quarterback so fast. A lot of teams haven't been able to exploit that. But if you go back and look at the Green Bay tape, couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop it.
Agree. Last thing I want to ask before we get out here, let's get into final predictions real quick. I want you to give me a final score. And I want you to give me. Let's talk about the guy in the big room here. Let's talk about Gardner Minshew.
Okay.
Give me his stats first, and then give me an Eagles prediction.
My poll on the show last night was Gardner Minshew is going to throw for over 250 yards.
Okay.
And I'm keeping it reasonable.
Okay.
If he can throw for over 250 yards, we'll be fine. I think we'll win the game. I think it'll be a close game. I think we'll win like 24-21. But if we got a couple plays, that aren't, we got that quick slant to A.J. Brown going across the middle, and we got the deep out to Devontae Smith. Everybody knows it's coming. Nobody's been able to stop it. The only times that pass to A.J. Brown is when he drops it, because he has had a couple of drops. But those are plays that Gardner Minshew can make. And then it doesn't take much for you to hand the ball to Miles Sanders. So if we fall in this game, it'll be because we got a BS scheme.
Okay.
If we do what we know we can do,
Mm-hmm.
nobody has been able to stop our offensive line when we run the ball right.
Okay.
Nobody. If we do that, we shouldn't have any problem.
I agree. It's hard for me to really say this. I really don't like saying my Cowboys are going to lose. On my show this week, I took a lot of heat for it. What kind of Cowboys fan you are, but listen, I give the Eagles credit, man, because this is my thing, as I said, on my show. The Eagles find a way to win. You had a scare a couple of games with the Redskins. You lost, or I'm sorry, Commanders, I should say. I'm sorry. But then the next 3 games, they were hard-fought games. Mm-hmm. You had one hell of a game from Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. He looked like all-pro Hurts out there, throwing the ball, Dan Marino type. Next game, it was an all-pro running attack. Next game, the Bears. You squeaked it out. You found a way to win the game. You did what you did. You won the game in the trenches. That's what teams do that win games. That's what teams do to become number 1 seeds. Us, a little bit of downfall. We play down to our competition half the time. The Eagles do not do that. But if they do, they find a way in the second half to maintain this game and pull this out.
Right.
So I had to say, I had it 2 ways. I asked my team, Jalen Hurts plays, fully healthy, what's the score? I had the Eagles by 21. Gardner Minshew playing. I had the game, Eagles 29, Cowboys 27. That's what I see. I try to keep it real. I take heat for it, but listen, right now, just like I said beginning, we talked about living on screen and off the screen. Gardner Minshew is surrounded with weapons. You're taking away one player. You're going to the gas station with no gas with Minshew, but there's gas stations all around that you can fill up. And you have a full loaded tank of gas with what you have on offense and defense.
I don't think this is going to be more so in the offense. I think I'm predicting the defense is going to have 3 turnovers.
Wow. Okay.
I'm thinking, and I'm basing that strictly on. I've been watching Hassan Reddick. This kid's coming off the corner, and can't nobody stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget the biggest snub of the Pro Bowl, Javon Hargrave, with 10 sacks.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So, and the first time we played you guys didn't have to worry about Linval Joseph or Ndamukong Suh. Those vets, never in a million years would I have thought that we could have got veteran defensive tackles that were going to make an immediate impact. Never in a million years. And I know what kind of player Ndamukong Suh was. I didn't expect that at his age coming off the streets. And Linval Joseph the same way. But Linval Joseph was a little bit more active.
Right.
And Ndamukong Suh had been sitting home for a while.
Right, he's been sitting at home making TikTok videos, playing with his family. Like goodness gracious.
For them 2 players to come off the streets and had an impact that they've had is crazy. We get the big man in the middle, Jordan Davis. He's been sitting there and watching them too. That's what I love the most. But I think we're going to have 3 turnovers. I think we're going to have 1 pick, and I think we're going to have 2 fumbles because Hassan Reddick has mastered that strip sack, and he's coming off that edge, and can't nobody stop him right now.
And that's the thing I'm worried about. Just like you said, you learn from different people. Tyler Smith, I love the kid. He's playing a hell of a season at left tackle. Blowing my mind playing there. But the thing I got to give him credit is he learned from 2 Hall of Famers. Jason Peters. He learned from Tyron Smith. And the thing is, we have Tyron Smith moving the right side. Marcus, now as an athlete, when you're playing left tackle from age 5 all the way up until age 32, wherever he may be at his age right now, and the coach says, listen, we're giving you a different pair of glasses and you're moving to the right side. It's a 180 flip. Every movement of your feet, every hip movement, every hand movement is a 180 flip. And I think that right side is going to be a wide open position because, I understand you're next to Zach Martin, all pro, but still, it's something that really scares me out there, that right side of that defensive line, because that defensive line for the Eagles, that rotation, that front 7 with the rotation of linebackers, it might be an all-out feast fest on that right side, honestly.
Yeah, and if you're struggling, what's the first thing that happens? You got to give somebody help.
Exactly, and then
that means there's a block That means there's a blocker that's gotta somebody's coming free.
And that's the thing that Dallas does a lot, Marcus. When Dak feels the pressure or those DNs get in there off of our line, our tackles both sides, that's when Dallas goes to the 2 tight end situation. Okay? An unbalanced line or, a like student body, right student body, the left situation. Then all of a sudden Dallas becomes one-dimensional. Yeah. You can play your corners one-on-one. Bradbury and Slayer sitting there. I got my man locked down. Now what happens? You put that front 7 plus 2 in the box. You got 9 in the box versus one man that runs the ball, and that's Tony Pollard or Zeke.
Yep.
That's scary.
And do not sleep on T.J. Edwards. T.J. Edwards has been balling all year.
I love
He's
that
probably
guy.
going to end up going to a Pro Bowl as an alternate.
Yeah.
He should have been voted in, but T.J. Edwards, he's another one that's playing above and beyond anybody's expectation.
I agree. We got a couple comments real quick. He agrees with you. Hassan Brad's going to have a big game. Gardner Minshew stats. He has Eagles 28-21, Minshew 260.
Nice.
Three TDs, 1 rushing, 1 interception. I kind of agree with that situation. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say between 240 to 260 yards. I don't know about the rushing TD. I think he's going to try to avoid the run, with the fact that I think Sirianni's going to tell him only if it's there. If it's clear, open pasture, go ahead and run the ball.
If we're on the goal line, they'll do the sneak.
Okay, you think so?
Yeah. If it comes to that, he can do that.
Okay. He says Reddick stats, it's going to be 2 sacks, sack 1, sweat 1, Hargraves. Well, I can actually see all that. I can really see that, honestly. Yeah. Yep. But
Reddick should have legitimately. Hassan Reddick should have had 4 sacks against Chicago.
You're right. Yeah. Last thing I want to ask you real quick before we get out of here. You guys win this game Saturday night, tomorrow night. Okay. When does my man Jalen come back?
It would be my opinion if we win tomorrow. He plays a quarter against the Saints and he plays a quarter against the Giants. He cannot not play for 4 weeks.
Agreed.
That is not a good idea.
Agree.
Rust is real in the NFL.
Definitely, we see that.
Yeah. So I would say get him in with the Saints. Get him a quarter or a half, however you want to do it. Do the same thing against the Giants again. Okay. Get him in there. Let him get his feet wet. Give him a couple of series in. If he scores 1 touchdown, yank him out.
I agree with you. I love that he just said that because a lot of people think, he's a pro athlete. He gets paid to do this. Well, 5 weeks is a long time to sit the bench. Man. And, I don't care if you play 7-on-7, 11-on-11 in your own team. Game speed is totally different in the NFL.
Totally different.
And I like how you said you play the Saints 1 quarter, you play the Giants 1 quarter. I love what you said that because I couldn't agree with you more. Because you know what? Every team is a little bit different. You're going to get different looks of what you see. Yes, Saints are going to do this on you. Jalen, this is what you're going to see. You're already out of the game. Great job. You got the timing back down. Next week, you play against the Giants. Giants, different animal. I didn't see that look. Different look. This is what we play against. Now you're ready. Game speed, different atmosphere, different schemes, different situation. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. Marcus, man, listen, it is always a pleasure having you on here. Listen, I hope, I know the end of the season's coming up here. We're both going to be in the playoffs. We might have a possibility to see each other one more time, depending on how the seedings end up, who wins, who loses. But don't be a stranger. Anytime you want to come on here, please do. You know my name, you know my number. My number is always the same. Give me a call. But before, Marcus, we get out of here, where can my people find you at?
You can find me. I am every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on A2D Radio on YouTube.
Gotcha.
My show, Pro Fan Talk. And I have my own personal YouTube channel now where I'm just putting up daily content or posting as much as I can. And that is youtube.com/@ProFanTalk.
Okay.
And I'm just, doing, putting my thoughts during the week and just trying to post stuff. I'm a graphic designer by trade.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do some more creative stuff. And I got some ideas on some stuff I want to do. So check me out. You can find me on Facebook and my Pro Fan Talk Facebook group. I welcome anybody, any kind of fan you are. Doesn't matter. I talk football all year with any fans. Let's do it, man.
Definitely. Listen, like I said, man, listen, please give my man Marcus Thomas out there the love out there. I will put a link as well on our page out there. I'm a Cowboys fan. He's an Eagles fan. But listen, when you get together, it's all about football, man. That's all it's about.
It's all
You
it's
can,
about.
what's what it is, and I love doing that with you. Hopefully that many of the fans out there can say, "Wow, an Eagles fan and a Cowboys fan, how could this be?" Well, listen, it's not because it's Christmas tomorrow, a couple of days, but it's because we love football and the camaraderie is
Facts.
there, and it's respect 100% from myself to you,
Absolutely.
Marcus.
Absolutely. I
But
got
Marcus,
friends that play for the boys.
mhm,
So, it's love all the way around, man.
definitely. Before we get ahead, Marcus, I want to say thank you.
You got it, brother.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to yourself, your family, your loved ones. Deep down from the heart, I really want to say that, and I want to say I hope you have a good Christmas Eve tomorrow night. But I wish you well as well. Hey, listen, I'll keep it real with you.
Let's just get out there, play a good game, and the best team is gonna come out ahead. I don't get
Definitely.
into points. You either win or you lose.
That's right. A win is a win, no matter how you look at it, right? When I look in
Yes.
there on Sunday morning or Monday morning, if I see a W, I'm pretty grateful.
You got it, man. Don't say UW. It ain't an ugly win.
Oh,
It just win.
exactly. There's no asterisk there. You know what I mean?
No, sir.
Marcus,
No,
thank
sir.
you, man. My name is Paul Spencer. You're checked into the 215 Boys special show, Eagles Cowboys Round 2. I'm Paul Spencer, Marcus Thomas. We'll see
Got
you
it, bro.
next time. Marcus, have a great holiday, brother. I'll catch you later.
You got it.